Your
We
show
hold
will
these
go live in
truths to be
5
self-evident.
seconds. 4, 3.
That all men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Good morning. Welcome to another For Liberty's Sake. Thank you so much for joining me here on our weekend review program. My name is Eric Thompson out here in California. 9/11. Tough day. We have to go over that, but we're going to go over a lot of issues today. Because Joe Biden had a terrible week. Actually, an embarrassing week, but a hateful week. Thank you for listening in on Block Talk Radio and other platforms. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always email me at eric@forlibertiessake.com, eric@forlibertiessake.com. This is being recorded on my podcast, so I can't take any calls if you guys call in because I got a lot to get through in an hour. 9/11. Where were you on 9/11? Do you remember? Were you getting ready for work? Were you outside the towers? Did you know somebody that died in the attacks on our nation from Islamic terrorists from Afghanistan, Pakistan? I was actually getting ready for work because it was about 5:20, 5:30 in the morning California time when the North Tower was hit. And I was getting ready for work about 6:30 California time, and my wife turned on the television, which she didn't do back then, and she said, "Wow, there's one of the towers has been hit." And I'm like, I'm thinking must have been an air, like a civilian airplane, because I was an air traffic controller of the Marine Corps. And then the news was talking, and as it was time for me to drive into San Jose, she's like, "Maybe you shouldn't go to work. I don't know. This seems kind of weird." And I was like, "Well, I got to go to work because the way I was raised, you go to work, you don't call in." But by the time I got to work, the second tower had been hit. Second tower had already been hit. The first tower actually was coming down about that time I made it into San Jose. They had already chained up the doors to our big building, and then obviously the rest is history from the way that I view things. But I think what's disturbing about this 9/11 for me is the reaction from the Marxists that are in the White House, from the rhinos that have been meddling with what President Trump was trying to do in establishing America as being exceptional, as being a leader, as being, in a position to take care of Americans first and then help secondly. But today, our nation should and is remembering those that were wrongly, evilly, if that's a word, but were taken from loved ones, taken from companies that had employed them, that had believed in them, from a nation that at the time was just like, okay, let's go to work. Bush was not popular because of the way the 2000 election went down. But people were just trying to go to work, provide for their families, cheer on their favorite sports teams, just living the American life. And we weren't really ready for people outside of our country to be able to get in and to get on our airplanes, fly them into buildings, and just and change the way that our government would try to then make sure that didn't happen again, which then led to the Patriot Act and some things I don't agree with. But so they rebuilt, the towers, but then they have the memorial there, and so we have speeches going on. We have the audio being played of the calls that were made, and we have the gut-wrenching remembrances taking place. And so America, it is appropriate for today to remember and to pray for the people who are still alive, who are suffering still from the family members they lost, to reflect on the liberties and some things that we've allowed to be taken as a result of it 20 years ago, as we're in the midst of the Marxist attempted takeover from our president down. But here's what really gets to me. When you have 2,977 people died in New York City, D.C., and Somerset County, Pennsylvania. You had the first tower hit at 8:46 in the morning in the East Coast. And less than a couple hours later, it came down. Second tower came down. Pentagon, the airplane hitting out in Pennsylvania. It should be, and it has been for 20 years, and the opportunity for the president to speak and for just a moment for America to take a deep breath and say, do you remember when 9/11 hit and how we came together? Can we remember what it was like even back in 1980 when the hockey team beat the Russians, and we at least came together around the idea that we beat the Russians, and that if we worked together and didn't focus on all these social justice issues and all the, because we didn't deal with them back then. But if we just come together, and the president would lead it on this day, and they would go put the wreaths up and the prayers for just a short period of time, we'd have unity in our divided country. But today, because Joe left behind Americans, is getting Afghani nationals who had assisted the United States killed because we left them behind. Because the White House has been blaming the Taliban. The Taliban has been saying, no, it's your State Department. State Department saying, well, we don't have the paperwork. And then we find out where they created new paperwork after the people were getting on the airplanes that are still stuck at Al Sharif Airport. Joe Biden is not going to speak at any of the events today. The President of the United States can't speak because a large portion of America doesn't like him. They don't like what he stands for. They don't like the way that he's handling things. His approval rating this week got 38%. He lost like 8 or 10% of the Democrats. Independents, he's in the tank on. Inflation's up. Nothing's going right under Joe Biden, so he can't speak today. Which is kind of a good thing, because Joe can't talk. He bumbles and mumbles and walks away, and he's aimless, and he's confused all the time. But at his core, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissistic. I think he is a psychopath. I don't think he cares. I don't think he has empathy, sympathy, anything in his bones. I think he's protected Hunter and done deals with China and touched women and children, and he's a creepy man. That's from his own actions. I don't know him. I don't need to. I just look at his life. I look at what he says. I look at what people have said. So on today, the White House put out because Joe can't speak, he put out a video. Okay. The video, which is only about 6 minutes long, should be 9/11 was terrible. The people that did it were evil. Bin Laden's dead, and we, for a moment, should think about the people that died, the loss, and comfort the people who are still alive, that are dealing with it, and let's try to come together. Well, Kamala Harris, who went into hiding during the Afghanistan disaster, she's going to say the same thing in her speech, and George Bush is going to say something in a different part of the speech. But the overarching thing today is not unity. It is 9/11 was bad, but Americans are bad too. Yes. Joe Biden, in the speech, said, "We have witnessed violence in Americans against Muslims, true followers of a peaceful religion." Even if you agree with Muslims or true followers of a peaceful religion, do you think that's the time you put that in? When we have the Taliban now celebrating over in Afghanistan for winning that conflict, where there's a group that still wants to build a mosque overlooking where the towers came down, and they're still fighting that in New York City? Do you think just for a minute he could just not try to say, well, yeah, but Americans were bad following these guys, who I'm not going to connect to Sharia Islam radicalism, but these people flew an airplane in, and then these terrible Americans were attacking Muslims who are in a peaceful religion. That's what Joe did in his and that's what his writers put out for him in his video. Well, Kamala, she spoke, and she trashed America. And here's a little clip of it.
On the days that followed, September 11th, 2001, we were all reminded that unity is possible in America. We were reminded also that unity is imperative in America. It is essential to our shared prosperity, to our national security, and to our standing in the world. And by unity, I don't mean uniformity. We had differences of opinion in 2001, as we do in 2021.
How do you do that? How do you have unity in a constitutional republic when you don't have people who love the flag, love the Constitution, love the Bill of Rights, believe in individualism and not collectivism? How do you do that, Kamala Houdini disappearing when the country is falling apart in Afghanistan, when the pullout is just a disaster? How do you do that? Because she's smirking like she always does in this speech. The left says that we should have unity. Well, how do we have unity when you're Marxist? When you want to attack people of white skin color, when you want to attack Christianity, how do you have unity? Well, let's see. Maybe she comes up, because now she's smirking about this. We mean unity, but we don't want uniformity. We don't want to have people that think and look the same. We want to have this utopian pursuit of impossibility with people with different views so extreme that they can't talk. But let's let her ramble with her smirk.
And I believe that in America, our diversity is our strength. At the same time, we saw after 9/11 how fear can be used to sow division in our nation. As Sikh and Muslim Americans were targeted because of how they looked or how they worshipped.
Okay, that's basically the exact same verbiage that Biden used. I wonder how. Oh, it's because it was written by the same people. Here's exactly what Joe said. I didn't want to play his long video. We also witnessed the dark forces of human nature. So again, quote, we also witnessed the dark forces of human nature, fear and anger, resentment and violence against Muslim Americans, true and faithful followers of a peaceful religion. And so we're talking fear. So what did Kamala just say in her speech about Americans?
No division in our nation, as Sikh and Muslim Americans were targeted because of how they looked or how they worshiped.
So fear. Okay, so 9/11, I'm doing the speech. Kamala is saying, I'm here. Okay, it was bad. But diversity's good, except back in 9/11, Americans, they went and mistreated the Sikhs and the Muslims. You see, I want you to connect that. 9/11 bad. We're not going to talk about the basis of those people, of those men who flew planes into buildings. We're not going to connect any dots, but we are going to connect the dots to bad Americans that went after a peaceful religion of Islam. But they weren't the only ones. So we get back. We're going to go over. Hillary jumped in, and so did George W. Bush, but not about Islam. We're going to go over who's the enemy now. Remember, this is on 9/11. Come together. Let's unite. No, let's point out the bad Americans that happened on 9/11, and let's also go after the bad Americans today that wear MAGA hats are real danger according to them. Thank you for listening. This is For Liberty's Sake. I'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Name one time in history where the people who banned books, media, and opinions were the good guys. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I made it in Silicon Valley, and I've accomplished a lot in my life already. But now, I'm leaving big tech to fight for free speech. Because the big tech overlords are violating your privacy, censoring your speech, and I think that's so wrong. That's why I created the Freedom Phone and its uncensorable app store. Everyone is complaining about big tech censorship, but no one is doing anything about it. They say, build your own phone. So I did. Freedom Phone truly is the best phone in the world. It does everything your current phone does, except censor you and spy on you. With the Freedom Phone, your freedom of speech is our #1 priority. That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love has been banned from the mainstream app stores, you can still download it on ours because we don't ban apps, period. And we've developed the first operating system based on your free speech. There's no app tracking, no keyboard tracking, and no location tracking because I believe in your security. How do we ensure you're being protected? Say hello to Trust. Trust is our privacy guard. It's designed to warn you whenever an app or a website is tracking you and gives you the option to stop it. Your data, your rules. That's our motto. The Freedom Phone is comparable to the best smartphones on the market. It has an edge-to-edge screen, a super fast processor, and multiple cameras. And your SIM card transfers into the Freedom Phone seamlessly. Big tech companies hold a monopoly on public communication and the dissemination of information, and they are abusing that power. Nobody elected Mark or Jack to be the arbiters of truth in America, yet they still thought it was okay to ban a sitting president from their platforms. If they censor a president, they will censor anyone. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg censored MLK or Abraham Lincoln. The course of history would have been altered forever. Out of all the constitutional amendments, there's a reason why the Founding Fathers made the right to free speech the very first. I believe you have a voice that deserves to be heard without being censored. Protect yourself from big tech censorship. Let your voice be heard. Live free with the Freedom Phone.
And I do want to thank our two sponsors for MyPillow. Make sure you check out MyPillow.com. Over 100 items, 60-day money-back guarantee on all of them. I own the towels, the pillows, the mattress topper, Giza sheets. They're all great quality, they're just made to last. So make sure you head over to MyPillow.com. Support Mike Lindell and our podcast. Our promo code, if you want to save up to 66%, yes, up to 66%. Use our promo code FLS, the first three letters of our podcast, for liberty's sake, FLS. Will save you up to 66%. If you have an Android phone and you like the way it works, but you'd rather have a different operating system where Google can't track what you're doing on it, you want to get the Freedom Phone, freedomphone.com. It's a Freedom iOS, so you can text and you can go places without being tracked unless you want to download apps that allow that. But the phone is designed to keep your privacy in place. When you get to freedomphone.com, if you want to save $50 at checkout, use our promo code SAVE. And thank you so much for staying with me. If you're just joining me here on Blog Talk Radio Live, this is For Liberty's Sake, our weekend review show. Happens to be 9/11 today, so again, pray for the family members and people that are suffering because of what happened 20 years ago. Children, grandchildren, or married, spouses or parents. But right now, I'm going over the people that really annoy me today. People that, instead of uniting today, as they claim, we need to unite and, we need to be part of the collective, like with the vaccines and things like that, which we'll get to. So I went over that Joe Biden's speechwriter and Kamala's speechwriter had to throw in, yes, the 9/11 was bad, but Americans were bad too because they mistreated Muslims who were in a peaceful religion after it. So let's keep the focus on how bad America is. Well, Hillary Clinton, so she was on CBS Morning's show with Gayle King, and Gayle asked Hillary if she's concerned about another potential Islamic attack because of the way that Biden botched Afghanistan. And here is how. Well, yes, we need to be diligent, but no, it's time to go after Trump supporters.
Madam Secretary, we have a new home here on Times Square, and as thrilled as I am to be here, I admit I'm a little nervous sometimes. I'm looking around more than I normally do. And I think a lot of Americans are concerned about a threat risk here in the United States because of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. Do you share those concerns?
I think you always have to be vigilant, Gail, and certainly that unfortunately comes with living in the world as we know it today. But actually, I am more concerned about internal threats. We always have to be aware of and protect against external threats. But what really is tearing our country apart and threatening our democracy is what we saw on January 6th. Okay,
there you go. Gail was like, that's how we're going to go. This is our Marxist. This is our predetermined way of trying to continue to attack President Trump and his supporters. So, Hillary, reflecting on 9/11, and because of what Biden just did and leaving Americans behind and bailing on Afghanistan the way he did on the nationals there that we're supposed to take out, are you concerned about another attack maybe in New York from the terrorists? Well, not really. I'm more concerned about the people that were at the Capitol on January 6th. That's really what we need to be worried about. Yeah, it's 9/11. I know. But let's talk about the Trump people again. And she goes on because you got to get the Trump people.
And I unfortunately have seen so much of that kind of continuing divisiveness and hatred and ideological attitudes about our democracy, about each other. So, yes, we have to be constantly aware of potential damage, attacks, threats from outside. But I think every American, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, should be as worried, if not more right now, about what we're doing to ourselves. You know, we can take anything, we can overcome anything.
Blah, 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 blah. Well, let's not forget the rhinos, though. George W. Bush, right? The guy that got in the White House by his by the skin of his teeth because of a Supreme Court decision, was not popular. 9/11 hits. He has the bullhorn out, and he does a good job getting through the 9/11 situation. But then the rest of his presidency was a lot of spending and regulations and didn't do a really good job. So he had to come out today, and he has his speech about 9/11. But what do you think he spoke about? What do you call it? The axis of evil and the Islamic terrorist, and we got to be worried about what's the fallout of Afghanistan. No, according to Breitbart, it says that George W. Bush ties 9/11 terror to violence that gathers within the U.S. President George W. Bush appeared to use his speech recognizing the 20th anniversary of 9/11 to compare the January 6th protest to the terrorist attacked America. Bush spoke at the 9/11 memorial service for Flight 93 in Pennsylvania, recalling the 9/11 attacks while warning of future terrorist threats to the United States. Quote, "We have seen growing evidence that the dangers to our country come not only across borders, but from violence that gathers within." He continued, there is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. What? There's no gap between Islamic terrorists that came over and killed Americans with running planes into buildings and in the ground, Pentagon, and Americans who were not armed, who went to protest the election results, the election of 2020, and the only person that got killed with a weapon was a unarmed Trump supporter. But he's going to say, I think there's growing evidence the dangers to our country not only comes from the Islamic terrorists and the Chinese and the Russians. No, it also is it's like the same thing that's happening. There's really no distinction, no cultural, no overlap. There's really, there's no difference. Little cultural overlap. But in its disdainful pluralism, in their disregard for human life and their determination to follow national symbols, they're children of the same foul spirit in our community, in our continuing duty to confront them. Let's see, who's tearing down the statues? Who has the colleges teaching critical race theory? When you look at New York City, who's going up and punching people, killing people because of their skin color? Who is now in Afghanistan running the government, the Taliban, the terrorists that worked with Al-Qaeda, the Chinese, the Russians? So that is how the left, that is how this administration's dealing with 9/11. Let's not focus on the thrust behind why the terrorists did it. Let's kind of acknowledge, yes, we feel bad for you that survived it. And let's make sure we blame America and Americans for what happened then, and that the real danger right now is Americans. The main focus shouldn't be on shouldn't be on another attack from the extremist, Islamic extremist. So that's what's happening on 9/11. Since this is a Week in Review show, now let's go back a little bit. Joe Biden, who I believe is actually a shell for Barack Obama's third term, decided, just like Barack Obama did with the DACA decision. Well, the federal government, Joe said, we can't mandate vaccines as a federal government. Remember that? He said it over and over again. Here he is actually, this is him actually saying it. One of the times, the vaccines should not be mandatory, and this was from Joe Biden a few months ago.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide. I'll do everything in my power as the President of the United States to encourage people to do the right thing, and when they do it, demonstrate that it matters. That's why I said in my inaugural speech, I'm going to ask people to commit for 100 days to wear a mask. Not because I'm asking it for any reason to punish. This is not a political issue. It's become one. But if people do it for 100 days in the middle of what will be still a raging crisis, and the vaccine is able to be distributed, they're going to see deaths drop off the edge. They're going to see hundreds of thousands of people not getting sick. And my hope is they'll be then inclined to say, okay, it's worth the patriotic duty to go ahead and protect other people. Thank you all so very much.
Okay, so that was one of many times that Joe said no, will not be mandatory. Well, this was Pelosi back in August, and they asked her, well, should you gonna require it? As House Speaker, do you think that this should be mandatory?
So here's the thing: we cannot require someone to be vaccinated.
Okay. What did she just say? This was on C-SPAN. Okay, Pelosi. Let's hear again from the Speaker of the House, the third person in line to be President of the United States. What did she have to say about vaccine mandates?
So here's the thing: we cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't.
Okay, so Joe said no, we can't make it mandatory. Pelosi said no, that's not what we can do as the Speaker of the House. So she didn't even put forth any legislation or anything because you just can't do it. But I want to take you back in time a little bit to Barack Obama when he was first in office. The pro-amnesty people, the open borders people kept asking him, are you gonna give amnesty to the illegals? What are you gonna do about the children that came over with the parents? Are you going to give them protection? What are you gonna do? And Obama would say, I can't do anything. I don't have the power. He said it over and over again. Then one time we got kind of frustrated with these. I don't know if it was Univision or he had some people kind of heckling him. He said, listen, I can't wave a wand. I am not a dictator. I can't just give them amnesty. But what did he do? After saying he can't do it, just like Biden's been saying, I can't do it, I can't mandate. Obama said I can't give amnesty. Has to go, those would have to go through the Congress and be debated and legislation and worked out, and then up to the president. And then if it's unconstitutional, then the Supreme Court does checks and balances. But no. Obama's team sat around going, how do we do this anyway? It's unconstitutional. And whatever we do is unconstitutional. But what do we do? Well, let's use your prosecutorial discretion. Just tell the federal employees, ICE and Border Patrol, in the prisons, we're not going to prosecute. We're not going to process illegal aliens when they're caught. Oh, that's cool. So actually, I'm not giving them amnesty. I'm just going to give them, we're going to call it DACA, deferred action. So we're going to say unconstitutionally that for now, the children that came across who are now adults at the time, because we're not talking about children anymore, they're going to have deferred action. So that, yes, they're guilty for being in the country illegally. Yes, they need to be removed, but we're going to defer because I'm using prosecutorial discretion as the prosecutor, as the chief executive officer in the United States. Okay. Well, when Jeff Sessions was the Attorney General for a short period of time under President Trump, he said, we are canceling this. We're now, DACA, we're no longer pursuing, so it's gone. Which should mean by default, anyone in the country legally, regardless of when they got here and why, would be illegal aliens and would be open for deportation. But the courts, even up to Supreme Court, well, that would be wrong. You got to give them process them differently, so we're going to leave it in place for now. An unconstitutional executive order, just flat out wrong. Well, here's Biden. No, I'm not going to make it mandatory. I'm not going to make masks mandatory. And I'm just going to call on people the first 100 days of my administration. And Pelosi, well, no, we don't do that. We can't make people get a vaccine. Right? Wrong. Well, at least wrong now, because Joe and his team, let me rephrase that. Joe didn't do this. The Obama members, the people that served in the Obama-Biden administration that are also now serving with the Biden-Harris administration. And you remember that it was reported in March, right after Biden got in, that Obama was speaking on a regular basis to Biden about policy issues, but they wouldn't say exactly what they were talking about. So you see the parallels, how Obama went from I can't do this to I did it to now to Biden, I can't do it. But now this week, Biden declares war on unvaccinated Americans. Our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost us all. I wrote an article about this over at finishtherace.com if you want to see it. Tyrant Biden orders vaccine mandates. This is not about freedom or personal choice. Finishtherace.com, that's my website over there. But what he did is on Thursday, he imposed stringent new vaccine rules on federal workers, large employers with over 100 employees, healthcare staff, in a sweeping attempt to contain the COVID Delta variant. He noted that the vast majority of Americans were doing the right thing by getting vaccinated, but that he would make life more difficult for the unvaccinated. We cannot allow these actions to stand in the way of protecting the large majority, the collective of Americans who haven't done their part, the individuals, to get back to life as normal, which is also, we know, wrong, because people that have been vaccinated are still getting the Delta variant, so the vaccines didn't bring life back to normal after all. But Joe basically said this, because I'll run out of time here if I go too long on it, but here's how this went down. Now that the Biden administration figured out what they think is a loophole, they're working through OSHA. And OSHA is going to now enforce Tyrant Biden's directive. And here, let me play a short clip of Joe. Now, this is the president of the United States, and we are a constitutional republic, and we are individuals, and we don't have to comply to the federal government request on a voluntary vaccine, on a vaccine just like the flu. You don't have to take it. But here is Joe. Listen to what he said. It's a short clip.
Tonight, I'm asking each of you to reach out to your unvaccinated patients over the next 2 weeks and make a personal appeal to them to get the shot. America needs your personal involvement in this critical effort. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for?
Okay, let me go back here and let me have this is Joe Biden. Now that he's been given his plan that he's going to try to force things through his authority as the chief executive officer over federal employees and trying to use OSHA, which is supposed to keep work environments safe for employees. Here's Joe again.
Tonight, I'm asking each of you to reach out to your unvaccinated patients.
Okay, so listen, he can't talk. He's talking to you and me, to the country. He asked in that speech, you and me, to reach out to our patients. What patients, Joe? He doesn't know.
Over the next 2 weeks, and make a personal appeal to them to get the shot. America needs your personal involvement in this critical effort.
Now Joe's going to go from individual. So he just said, we need your individual efforts to go talk to your patients. I think he meant your family members or people you know. But now he's going to go to the collective.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this.
Okay, now my message to those of you that choose not to have a substance put in your body.
What more is there to wait for?
What are you waiting for, stupid? We've got everything out of the way now, so of course you should fall in line and be part of the collective.
What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine is FDA approval.
FDA approval. It was supposed to be done by 2023, but it got done mysteriously fast, and some people are having adverse reactions. But hey, FDA says it's okay, so go for it.
Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
Okay, so you murderous anti-vaxxers who haven't taken them, we've given you every reason why now the door's open and the pathway's clear, and you should go ahead and get it. But just want you to know something. Our patience is wearing thin. Then he goes on. So, with that in mind, I am directing that every employee, the 2.1 million federal employees, must now take the vaccine or be fired. Also, private companies in states that have 10th Amendment protections, and companies that have 100 or more employees, they have to test workers or prove they've been vaccinated. So you're now going to mandate employers, you have to get your employees to take the vaccine. Or I'm going to use OSHA, which was set up to make sure that you have eye cleaning sinks in case you work around chemicals in a work environment, air conditioning units, whatever. I'm going to use this group that was intended to keep the workplace safe to now become the enforcers for an unconstitutional edict, because our patients as progressives wanting you to comply as individuals into our collective Marxist ideology, we're out of patience with you. So we're gonna put in a unconstitutional mandate through OSHA. If the companies don't comply, they can pay $14,000 per case, and then I'll have the Department of Justice come in and get you anyway, because you don't have a right, as they would say, to affect our other people's lives negatively, and your refusal to take the vaccines, even though people that are vaccinated are still getting the Delta variant and dying. But, oh well, because the refusal of you evil anti-vaxxers or people who just don't want to get poked because they're pregnant, have a pre-existing condition, whatever the reason, has cost us all. Cost all of us. That's what Joe did this week. Now you would think, well, that's terrible. And several states have already said, Governor Noem in South Dakota and DeSantis in Florida and Abbott in Texas, etc., said, and House members all over the place, I think 23 states, we'll see you in court. It's not happening, Joe Biden. We'll see you in court. But guess what? Do you know who's not included? Who has exemptions? Because you remember with Obamacare, Biden gave Walmart and all kinds of corporations exemptions from the mandates for employees, but only certain corporations. The members of Congress and their aides, they're exempt from Biden's vax mandate. You know who else is exempt? Illegal aliens, millions of them. You know who's exempt and then not exempt and maybe exempt and not exempt? The Postal Service. They weren't and now they should be. We don't know. So the unions are saying we're considering filing lawsuits against our buddy up in the White House, even though we helped him get elected and our members paid dues and we're big-time union people for Biden. It doesn't look good that he didn't talk to us before putting a mandate in. It doesn't look good at all. Because we need them to like us. Okay, I'm going to go to a quick promo here so I can get my sponsors in. Again, mypillow.com. Use our promo code FLS to save up to 66%, FLS. And freedomphone.com. Our promo code is SAVE. I'll be right back.
Name one time in history where the people who banned books, media, and opinions were the good guys. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I made it in Silicon Valley, and I've accomplished a lot in my life already. But now, I'm leaving big tech to fight for free speech. Because the big tech overlords are violating your privacy, censoring your speech, and I think that's so wrong. That's why I created the Freedom Phone and its uncensorable app store. Everyone is complaining about big tech censorship, but no one is doing anything about it. They say, build your own phone. So I did. Freedom Phone truly is the best phone in the world. It does everything your current phone does, except censor you and spy on you. With the Freedom Phone, your freedom of speech is our #1 priority. That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love has been banned from the mainstream app stores, you can still download it on ours because we don't ban apps, period. And we've developed the first operating system based on your free speech. There's no app tracking, no keyboard tracking, and no location tracking because I believe in your security. How do we ensure you're being protected? Say hello to Trust. Trust is our privacy guard. It's designed to warn you whenever an app or a website is tracking you and gives you the option to stop it. Your data, your rules. That's our motto. The Freedom Phone is comparable to the best smartphones on the market. It has an edge-to-edge screen, a super fast processor, and multiple cameras. And your SIM card transfers into the Freedom Phone seamlessly. Big tech companies hold a monopoly on public communication and the dissemination of information, and they are abusing that power. Nobody elected Mark or Jack to be the arbiters of truth in America, yet they still thought it was okay to ban a sitting president from their platforms. If they censor a president, they will censor anyone. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg censored MLK or Abraham Lincoln. The course of history would have been altered forever. Out of all the constitutional amendments, there's a reason why the Founding Fathers made the right to free speech the very first. I believe you have a voice that deserves to be heard without being censored. Protect yourself from big tech censorship. Let your voice be heard. Live free with the Freedom Phone.
And head over to freedomphone.com and use the promo code SAVE to save $50. freedomphone.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Thank you so much for staying with me again. MyPillow.com. Get over there. Check out the over 100 items. You're going to love them all. Promo code is FLS at checkout. FLS. MyPillow.com. Okay, we were going over the Biden tyrannical COVID unconstitutional mandates that he put forth. States are going to be fighting him. Unions, I think, are going to be fighting him. But the illegal aliens are interesting because Peter Doocy asked, at the White House pressing with Psaki, Press Secretary Psaki, well, what about the illegal aliens? And here's how he asked, and this was her response.
Across the southern border into the country.
Well, look, our objective is to get as many people vaccinated across the country as humanly possible. And so the president's announcement yesterday was an effort to empower businesses, to give businesses the tools to protect their workforces. That's exactly what we did. But certainly we want everybody to get vaccinated, and more people are vaccinated, whether they are migrants or whether they are workers, protects more people in the United States.
But it's a requirement for people at a business with more than 100 people. It is not a requirement for migrants at the southern border. Why?
That's correct. Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, pretty straightforward. But vaccines are required for people at a business with more than 100 people. Now, not if they're under 100, then those people don't care. They're not a danger. But the 100, for some reason, was like the benchmark. So people at a business with more than 100 people have to be vaccinated. It's required. But it's not required for people, migrants at the border. Why? That's correct. Next question. Big story this week. Afghanistan, still dealing with that because we have still 6 planes that are stuck at the Al Sharif airport in north of Kabul. State Department says it's not our fault. Taliban says, well, you know what? That's kind of your guys' business. We're not keeping them on the ground. State Department says, well, we have new paperwork, and the groups, the NGOs, non-governmental agencies saying, well, you didn't give us a form till it was too late. And so Biden administration continues to screw up and leave Americans behind in Afghanistan. And now Biden is out trying to do an unconstitutional mandate using OSHA and woke corporations to force people to get the poke, or they can face a fine. And Psaki also had said that, well, this gives businesses now the authority. They can now say, well, hey, guys, we love you employees, but, Obama, we met Biden, well, the Biden or what, well, or what's his name, Joe Biden. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden. He said, and his administration says that well, we have 180 employees, so we have to make you get it. So it's not our fault. We have to make you. Or if you're a woke corporation, now you understand why we're demanding you get it or you're fired. And now we have the support and the endorsement from the federal government. So you need to quit asking us about this because we have the authority. Fortunately, we have governors that are going to fight this in unions because it is just like DACA's unconstitutional, should go away, and people should be deported if they're in the country illegally. The government has no right to use OSHA to override state rights and individual rights of American citizens because, darn it, the left wants the the vaccine manufacturers to make their billions so they get a better return. And you know what? If we're gonna have to let the illegal aliens and post office and whoever else we can that have big unions or would be politically incorrect to force them to take a vaccine to get a pass on it. Next question, please. This, when we're dealing with the COVID thing, Fauci was asked a question that he had to deflect significantly, and I'm going to have you hear it from Sanjay Gupta ask Fauci during an interview on CNN. Listen to this.
And just real quickly,
this is Gupta,
there was
Dr.
a study
Gupta.
that came out of Israel about natural immunity.
90
and
seconds.
basically the headline was that natural immunity provides a lot of protection, even better than the vaccines alone. What are people to make of that? So as we talk about vaccine mandates, I get calls all the time. People say, I've already had COVID, I'm protected, and now the study says maybe even more protected than the vaccine alone. Should they also get the vaccine? How do you make the case to them?
You know, that's a really good point, Sanjay. I don't have a really firm answer for you on that. That's something that we're going to have to discuss regarding the durability of the response. The one thing the paper from Israel didn't tell you is whether or not as high as the protection is with natural infection.
Okay, so as we close here, just listen to Fauci. He doesn't have an answer for natural immunity after all this time. He's lying. And then Israel's basically pointing out, hey, people that have already had COVID, have the antibodies, are actually safer than people that are now trying to get the vaccines to protect themselves. But Fauci can't let that truth get out because that gets rid of the whole mandate. That's the whole mandate argument goes right out the window if they allow that to go through. Hey, thank you so much for listening. This has been For Liberty's Sake. Fight locally up through your legislatures and get them to hold this communist government intact until we can win back the Congress and the presidency in 22 and 24. I'll see you guys next week, and take care.